Exposed. Our son's incredible betrayal left us pretending to be dead after 3 heartbreaking years. The noise from the neighborhood block party filled the air, laughter mingling with the sizzling sound of burgers on the grill. But for the Johnson family, this wasn't just another summer evening. It was the reminder of a specter they could not escape, the fallout of betrayal looming overhead like a dark cloud. "Lucas, how could you?" Megan whispered, tears of disbelief glistening in her eyes as she read the headline of the gossip blog. Her heart sank, knowing the entire community would now know about their family's hidden struggles, about the mortgage overdue, and her struggle with anxiety after a difficult school year. David stood beside her, fists clenched, his hard-working heart aching for his family, the quiet man of strength suddenly feeling crushed under the weight of betrayal. Their son had shared it all for the sake of fleeting teenage popularity. Megan embraced Lucas more tightly than she had in years. "Remember the times we shared laughter around the dinner table?" she urged, her voice both soft and trembling. "Those memories are so precious to us." With every word, they fell into the abyss created by their child, a silence echoing the realities they now faced as Lucas reveled in newfound popularity. The Johnsons went from being the ideal American family complete with laughter, love, and white picket fences to pariahs in the community. They became ghosts, retreating to their home like an unwelcome secret kept beneath the surface. 3 years passed in subdued shades of blue, and they pretended to be dead to everyone outside. No more summer barbecues, no more friendly waves across the street, just an empty shell of what they used to be. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Those 3 years crawled by like the summer heat, each day a painful reminder of their lost connections. Lucas thrived in a world of shallow friendships, trading family for fleeting moments. Was he truly happy? The laughter of his new friends felt hollow when the evenings grew quiet. The Johnson family home sat like a tomb, filled with echoes of love left unspoken. Then one fateful summer evening, the invite arrived for a community gathering. Their hearts raced with uncertainty. Would they be welcomed back? Would the neighborhood embrace them after the scandal? As they stood at their front door, the familiar aroma of grilled meat and laughter drifted into their home, drawing them out. Megan felt a strange mix of hope and trepidation. David squeezed her hand as they approached the scene full of familiar faces. Suddenly, there he was, Lucas, surrounded by friends, shockingly unaware of the rising tension. Would this night bury them deeper? Or could it ignite the spark of reconciliation they longed for? As the evening unfolded, they found themselves on a collision course with their past, their family, and their son, each of them desperately wanting to understand and forgive. And just as the night turned heavy with unspoken words, a reckoning loomed on the horizon. Could there be a way back to one another? Or was the bond forever severed, leaving them gasping in uncertainty? The gathering pulsed with energy, laughter bubbling in bursts that rang like sharp bells in the Johnsons' ears. Megan felt an unnerving knot twist tightly in her stomach. She had to remind herself to breathe. Each inhalation was an act of courage. David shifted beside her, his posture rigid as if holding up the weight of the world. He scanned the yard, searching for the faces that had once offered genuine kindness. "They're staring," he whispered, his eyes locking onto their uninvited glances. "Keep your head high," Megan replied, though her heart felt the heavy gravity of shame. A nearby group of teenagers burst into laughter, and Megan instinctively looked toward Lucas. He stood by the grill, oblivious, flashing a grin that seemed to signify everything her heart was still longing for. The mix of pride and pain filled her chest. "Hey, look," one friend said, pointing. "It's the Johnsons." Their laughter shifted into uncertain murmurs. Megan pressed her fingertips against her temples, willing herself to remain calm. "We can do this," she reassured David, who seemed to draw strength from her voice. Together, they approached the small gathering of familiar faces. As they stepped closer, the voices quieted and a tense awkwardness settled over the crowd. Someone coughed, breaking the silence that had grown like an unwelcome weed. "Hi everyone," Megan called out, forcing a smile that felt brittle. Her warmth faded as she met the eyes of the neighbors she used to share cookies with. "It's good to see everyone again." "Yeah, we hope you're doing okay," one woman offered hesitantly. David took a deep breath, his throat tightening. "We've missed being part of the community," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. Lucas turned at the sound of his parents, his laughter fading into confusion. As their eyes locked, something shifted in the air, a crack in the wall between them. Megan watched her son's brow furrow, and in that moment, everything she had hoped for felt right in front of her yet unreachable. "Mom? Dad?" Lucas stepped forward, the carefree grin melting into concern. "What are you guys doing here?" Megan could hardly contain herself. "We want to reconnect," she said, her voice trembling with unuttered desire. "We wanted to come back." The air was taut with unspoken questions. Would Lucas understand? Would he truly want to mend the rift? As he hesitated, the pulsating laughter and chatter dimmed in the background, fading into insignificance against the cacophony of emotion welling inside Megan. Suddenly, the gaggle of friends around Lucas fell silent, their interest hovering around the scene unfolding. She noticed some swiping their phones, probably to capture what they thought would become the next viral sensation. But Megan didn't care about the fans. She cared about her son. "I'm sorry," Lucas finally said, his voice low. "I didn't mean for it to turn out this way." Megan's heart swelled with hope. She stepped closer, yearning to bridge the distance. "We can work through this together, Lucas. You can always come home." His friends glanced at him, a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Just then, a cheer erupted from the crowd, commenting on a game happening in the yard, providing a momentary distraction. Lucas looked at his friends, then back at his parents, uncertainty flickering like a candle caught in a windstorm. As the laughter resumed, Megan felt a rush of anticipation. Could this simple apology lead to the reconciliation they had all been hoping for? With the evening rippling with potential, she could feel change stirring in the air. But then, like a storm warning, she overheard whispers behind their backs. "It's all for show," someone sneered. In that moment, a familiar fear gripped her heart. Would her family last this time? Just as she thought they were on the brink of healing, a new threat cast a shadow over their fragile hope. How would Lucas respond? Would he stand firm at this crossroads, or let the influences of his friends pull him back into the darkness? Megan held her breath, her heart pounding like a drum in her ears. She watched Lucas, torn between collapsing under the weight of his friends' gazes and reaching out to them, the parents he had known. His expression flickered with uncertainty, a mirror of her own spiraling thoughts. "Lucas, please," she urged softly. "This isn't just about what they think. It's about us." He flinched a little but didn't step backward. Instead, he glanced at his friends, the tension in his shoulders visible. Pushing her fears aside for a moment, Megan took a chance, willing to fight for her son with every ounce of love she had left. "Mom, Dad," he began hesitantly, words stumbling like stones across a river. Can we talk privately?" Megan felt a rush of relief, but it was quick to mix with anxiety. Would Lucas be able to express what he truly felt away from prying eyes? Would his friends even allow that? "Sure, sweetheart. Let us step over there," David said, gesturing toward a quieter corner of the yard. As they moved, Megan could feel the weight of the crowd's looks, their disapproval lingering like an unwanted shadow. The laughter from the game seemed distant and mocking, fading under the loud beat of her heart. Once they found a moment of solitude, Lucas crossed his arms tightly across his chest, like a shield against the feelings stirring inside. "You really want to come back?" His voice trembled, revealing a crack in his armor. "Yes," Megan affirmed, taking a tentative step forward. "We've thought about it every day. We can fix this." "No, it's not that easy," Lucas interrupted. "You don't just show up and expect everything to be the same. They all think what?" David interjected. He was trying to keep his voice steady, but Megan could hear it overlaid with betrayal and hurt. "Think we're just here for attention? You know us better than that." Lucas hesitated, biting his lip as he watched their eyes fall. "What do you think they're saying? That you're pretending this is all fine?" While a thought hung, unspoken but heavy, in the air. What if Lucas believed they were putting on an act, as easily as his friends would? Megan stepped back, feeling that familiar knot twist tighter around her heart. "Lucas," she said, steadying her voice, "we're not pretending. We've missed you so much. And all we want is to be your family again. At that moment, that flicker of hope he had shown before transformed. It was almost visible as it passed between them, but it was fragile. I don't want rumors or a fight, he said quietly, the resolve hardening back into his shoulders. Neither do we, David said, capturing Lucas's gaze. We just want the chance to explain to start over. You've already lost us. We don't want to lose you too. The hopeful glance they shared grounded them for a moment. But just when the air filled with possibility, Megan caught the corner of her eye. A group of Lucas's friends were gathering closer, their laughter returning, mingling with challenges. Megan clenched her fists, fighting against the urge to bolt back to the safety of the crowd. Lucas, you need to decide. Will you let them dictate what you choose? Megan felt the world pressing in. Would Lucas find the strength to break free from that weight? In that instant, anything felt possible. Yet, the distance between them seemed too wide, stretched by outside voices that whispered doubt. Ugh, why are you even here? One of Lucas's friends called out, stepping into their little bubble. You shouldn't have come back in the first place. Megan's heart dropped. Would Lucas choose to stand with his family? Or would he let the words of his friends pull him deeper into the past? As the tension thickened, Megan understood they were on the brink of either a breakthrough or another breakdown. Would Lucas find his voice in the noise? Or would he sink into the comfort of familiar indifference? Lucas's gaze darted back to his friends, who were approaching with laughter and mockery written across their faces. He hesitated, caught in a dangerous crossfire between his family and the familiar embrace of his peers. The scornful tone of his friend echoed like a bell tolling the end of something precious. "Leave us alone," he shouted, the words escaping him before he could reel them back. His voice was shaky, but it rang clear against the laughter that surrounded them, momentarily stopping the crowd. "Wow, look at you getting all defensive," another friend scoffed, folding his arms. "What's next? You're gonna run back to mommy and daddy as if they haven't messed everything up." That hit harder than any shove. Lucas's friends had always been supportive in his brokenness, but now, with their contempt sneering toward his parents, he felt their judgment slice deeper. His chest tightened and he could feel Megan's gaze, steady and hopeful, urging him to stand firm, fight for what they all wanted. "You're not alone, Lucas," Megan chimed in, voice rising above the noise. "You can choose who you want to be. You can choose us. We love you." That hasn't changed. But Lucas faltered. He turned his back on his parents, facing the assembled friends, their laughter an intoxicating lure. They were his people. He longed for their approval, a bond he thought would last forever. "You can't know what it's like to be a part of that broken mess," he muttered, clenching his fists. "For real." One of his friends agreed, stepping closer. "That's all they do, it's just one big show. You think they care? They didn't care when they left you." Megan felt a stab of pain, the familiarity of that accusation pushing against her heart. She couldn't allow Lucas to believe that, couldn't let the past define the present. She stepped closer, even as David stayed grounded, protecting her from the electric atmosphere. "Think about it, Lucas. We left, but we always wanted to come back. I would climb mountains for you no matter how hard it got," Megan pleaded. "Don't let temporary friends keep you from the truth. What we have is worth so much more." There was silence, a gentle pause as Lucas weighed Megan's words against the jeers from his friends. For a fleeting moment he looked torn. His chest rose and fell rapidly. Rustling leaves whispered in the distance, reflecting the unrest brewing in him. "Look at this," a friend mocked. "Mommy's trying to win you over with a sob story. Don't you get it? They walked away. They want your sympathy now." Lucas felt the familiar urge to hide under that robe of indifference, to let the comfort of their friendship drown out the truth. But something inside him stirred a longing for connection, battling against the childhood wounds he had harbored. "Lucas," Megan whispered softly, drawing his attention back again. "You've grown up, but that doesn't mean you have to leave behind your family. This is your choice to make. Choose who you want to be. Choose to be brave." As the tension hung thick around them, the crowd's laughter dimmed. It was no longer background noise. It transformed into a chorus of whispers, a living wall of expectations. He felt the weight of many eyes watching him, and they were all waiting for his decision. "Mom," he said slowly, his voice trembling like a fragile leaf caught in the wind, What if before he could finish, the moment shifted, the laughter erupted again, echoing as close friends blocked the path back to his family. What if he chose them? Megan braced herself, heart pounding louder than her fears. She could feel the moment teeter on the edge of something monumental. Would Lucas finally take the leap? Would he find his voice when it mattered the most? Lucas stood there, suspended between the memories of the love that cradled him through childhood and the weight of the ridicule emerging from his so-called friends. Each laugh cut like glass, shattering something inside him he couldn't quite define. Would it be so bad? He thought, questioning the warmth of Megan's steady gaze against the coldness of his peers' jeers. Friends always came first, right? In moments like this, the idea sounded perfect. But was it really true? With every heartbeat, the distance from his family grew wider. The laughter faded into a blur behind him. He felt like he was teetering on the edge of a steep cliff, with a choice to make that would resonate into the future. Lucas, please. Megan's voice was soft and unyielding, nearly pulling him back. You don't have to be what they expect. You know who you are. But did he? As he stared into the sea of faces, he felt that gnawing sense of belonging to his friends wrapping around him like a deceptive embrace. He could picture all the times they stood by his side, bantering their way through sleepless nights and heartaches. Yet, those good memories sat on unstable ground. What about now? Hey Lucas, one of his old friends nudged him sharply. We're just trying to remind you that family's not worth it. They left. It's time to embrace what's real. A flicker of guilt crossed his mind. Were they right? He turned his head toward his parents, only to be met with a worried frown from his mom. Their faces showed turmoil, not anger. It tugged at something deep within him. Maybe Megan's just trying to manipulate you. Another voice piped up, and Lucas could sense a shift in the gathered crowd, tension building like a balloon inflating too quickly. But that balloon didn't pop. Instead, Megan kept her steady focus on him, her eyes wide with sincerity. Lucas, reject the lies they weave. Think of the love that binds us. You don't owe this crowd anything. He felt lost in the indecision, wrestling with an overwhelming feeling that tangled his heart. What if he hurt them by staying with these friends? They knew of his struggles, felt his pain. Somehow he hoped that by leaning into this chaotic devotion, he could find comfort just as they claimed he could. What if he began again, voice barely above a whisper, but still tangled in unsurety? What if we're the ones pretending? What if it's easier to be with them? Megan inhaled sharply but held her ground. What's easy isn't always right, Lucas? It was a pivotal moment as he felt the crowd holding their breath alongside him. Each face, each expectation seemed to loom closer. And then suddenly, as if a dam had burst, tears filled his eyes. Maybe I'm scared. The admission hung in the air, soft yet potent, like dew in the early morning light. The laughter of his friends dimmed, substituted by an uneasy silence. Lucas felt a piercing sense of vulnerability. But being open had its weight, and suddenly, he was lost in the power of his honesty. As he looked at Megan, he saw the fear mirrored in her eyes, but also an unwavering flame of hope. Maybe this was how he could bridge the gap, bringing some of both worlds together. But the anger still sat heavy in his heart, growing as they mocked in the background. Just when Lucas felt like he was breaking free, a single voice cut sharply through the air. Make your choice, Lucas. Choose the past or the people who matter. His mind raced. The moment was electrifying, charged with everything left unsaid, every unresolved feeling surfacing like fireflies in the dark. Would Lucas find the courage to claim his identity, standing firm before his friends while reaching for his family? Or would he remain tethered to the noise, drowning in the facade they constructed? He stood there, teetering on the brink of realization, feeling the tide shift beneath his feet. The choice loomed heavy, and all it would take was a single word to change everything. Now what would he say? The silence in the park was deafening, louder than the jeering laughter that once filled the air. Lucas felt like the world had narrowed down to just him and Megan. Every other sound faded into an indistinct hum. His heart pounded, the blood rushing in his ears. Take your time, Lucas, Megan said softly, her eyes never leaving his. They glistened with a mixture of worry and encouragement. He felt the warmth of her gaze seep into him like sunlight breaking through dark clouds, and for a moment, that warmth chased away some of the cold doubts swirling in his mind. But then the voices of his friends crept back in, sharper and more jarring. "Simon, man. Don't let her guilt trip you. We're your true family now." They fidgeted, impatient, eager for him to choose. The pressure built around him, and Lucas felt the walls close in. He remembered the nights spent huddled on his bedroom floor with these friends, sharing secrets, laughter, and music. The warmth of camaraderie had felt real. But now, in the face of this challenge, it felt suffocating. "Why do I feel like I'm losing everything?" he whispered, almost to himself. "Because you're about to find out who you really are," Megan replied, determination coloring her voice. The tension in his chest tightened further. He could feel the unsteady foundation of his friendships cracking. Memories of his parents flashed through his mind: family dinners, his father's laughter, the way his mother tucked him in at night. Those were the people he came from, the ones who raised him. But had they ever really left? Or had he abandoned them in his pursuit of acceptance? "Lucas," one of his friends shouted, breaking through his thoughts. "You're not that kid anymore. Don't let your parents hold you back. They didn't care." "Shut up," Lucas snapped, surprising even himself with the strength of his retort. Anger surged like a tide, crashing against the doubts binding him. "You don't know anything about my family. They've always been there." His friends recoiled, confusion spreading across their faces. But amidst their shock, he felt a flicker of certainty. This moment was his, no longer theirs to dictate. He turned back to Megan. "You're right," he breathed. "I don't owe them a thing." Courage brought warmth to his voice as he spoke. "I know who I am. I'm not going anywhere without my family. My past brought me here, but it doesn't have to dictate where I go next." The crowd fell into an even deeper silence. Lucas's heart raced as he held Megan's gaze. Here, he was vulnerable, but the fog of doubt began to lift. For once, he felt free from the suffocating grip of expectations. Then, with fierce resolve, he stepped toward his parents, who had watched the entire exchange with bated breath. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice becoming stronger with every word. "I didn't mean to forget you. I need you now more than ever." As he registered their expressions, a mixture of relief and love, he could feel the warmth of the moment solidifying around him. He hadn't expected to feel so powerful so right. "Lucas," Megan began, her expression a blend of amazement and admiration. But just as the air filled with the weight of newfound connection, a loud voice shattered the quiet again. "What a joke. You think they'll really be there for you when it counts?" Lucas turned his head sharply. The smile calling to his lips faltered, replaced by an echo of defiance. As he looked into the scornful eyes of his friends, he realized the battle was far from over. This was just the beginning, and the path ahead was unclear. What would happen when the easy choices were stripped away? Would standing by his family feel like enough in their absence? He felt the shadows lurking, waiting to collect what he had just reclaimed. With a heart still pounding, Lucas turned to face the storm. Would he discover that love could conquer this resentment? Or would his past rise up to swallow him whole? The words hung in the air like a bitter echo. Lucas felt the weight of them press down on him, twisting in his gut. His friends had always been a source of strength, but now their laughter felt like knives. "You're making a mistake," one of them spat, their voice dripping with disdain. Lucas could see the frustration and disbelief starkly painted across their faces. Megan stepped closer to him, her presence a solid anchor amidst the chaos. "You're not alone in this," she whispered. Her warmth, so familiar, reminded him why he fought for this connection. He glanced back at his parents, whose eyes were locked onto him, filled with an unfathomable blend of hope and fear. "It's easy for you to say that," another friend chimed in, crossing their arms defiantly. "You don't know what it's like to be cut off. They'll use you, man." The comment stung, sending a shiver through him. He wanted to argue, to scream that what he felt was real, that family was more than just blood or shared memories. But was it really worth it? Could he bear the weight of hostility and rejection, especially from those he thought would stand by him? He looked down momentarily, the silence pressing tight around him until he could feel the pulse of doubt starting to surge again. "Maybe you're right," he said suddenly, surprising even himself. "Maybe I don't know what it's like to be in your shoes, but I do know who I am. I will not let you turn me against the people who love me." The declaration came forth like a roar, fierce and unwavering, buoyed by the echoes of every past moment he had cherished with his family. The crowd shifted, some nodding, others looking like they might strike back. Lucas didn't care. He felt a rush of energy, the realization that he was fighting not just for his family, but also for his own sense of self. And when have you ever been there for me when it counts? He shot back. The venom in his words startled him but tasted electric on his tongue. You only care about what serves you, what makes you feel important. Another wave of whispers rippled through the gathering. He grasped Megan's hand tightly, feeling the warmth that reminded him of the way forward. They were outside this together. Lucas, Megan urged gently, sensing the turmoil growing within him. This isn't just about now. It's your future too. He nodded, her words piercing through the frantic thoughts clouding his mind. Seeing her standing there lit a fire under him, a reminder of his resolve. The crowd began to murmur again, conversations bubbling up around them. Lucas saw doubt creeping into the expressions of some of his friends, their confidence wavering under the weight of his words. But just as he took a breath, determined to press on, a voice shouted from the back of the crowd, cutting through like a knife. You're going to regret this, Lucas. You'll see. In that instant, something deep within him shifted. He took a step forward, fueled by a new sense of clarity. No, I won't. The firmness in his voice diminished the echo of fear long before it reached his heart. As he faced the shadows of his past friendships, he felt emboldened. For the first time, he chose not to look back. The sun peeked from behind the clouds above, bathing the park in a golden hue, as if in support of his newfound stance. Come on, let us get out of here. He pulled Megan along, away from the confusion and negativity. It was time to embrace the unknown, to forge a path alongside those who had never let him down. But the tug of conflict loomed just ahead. What would his friends, those who once filled his life with joy, do when they realized he wasn't coming back? Would their anger keep them from seeing the truth? As they walked away from the shouts echoing behind them, a chill of uncertainty trailed in Lucas's wake. Would he find a way to bridge this gap? Or would his past refuse to let go? The choices ahead hung heavy in the air like storm clouds. What happens when the ones you thought you'd never lose suddenly become strangers? The park felt surreal as they walked through it, the laughter of children tumbling like melodies in the distance while the shadows of confrontation lingered behind them. Each step seemed to free Lucas from the weight of his old life, yet the remnants of anger and betrayal echoed in his heart. Megan's hand in his offered a simple comfort, grounding him as he navigated the uncertainty that swirled around them. You okay? She asked, her voice steady yet soft in its own way, a lifeline. Yeah, he replied, forcing a smile, though doubt still creased his brow. Just a lot to process. Can't shake the feeling that I left something important behind. Maybe you did, she said, her eyes searching his. But remember, sometimes what's important needs to change. This is about you finding your truth. He took a breath, absorbing her words. They felt both heavy and liberating. The truth felt so far away. Yet in this moment, it simmered just beneath the surface. What if this decision opened up a better future? What if he didn't have to lose anyone, but instead gain something far more precious? They wandered into a wooded area of the park, where the leaves danced lightly with the wind, calming his swirling thoughts. Lucas paused at a small clearing, a place where sunlight spilled softly through the canopy. This was where they used to come as kids, where laughter had echoed without limits. He imagined the carefree days now tinged with sorrow. Megan, he hesitated, what if they're right? What if I really do regret this? What if I end up losing everyone I care about? His voice trembled slightly, revealing the crack in his facade. Lucas, she said, steady as a rock, you're not losing anyone who truly cares about you. Your friends, they're struggling to understand. It's a big change for all of you. But the moment you embrace who you really are, you create space for the right people to step in. Her confidence rekindled a fire inside him. He thought about how long he had lived in the shadows of others' expectations. Maybe it wasn't about closure with his old friends right now, but about opening a door to something new. The idea felt terrifying yet exhilarating. Still, the nagging fear that haunted him continued to swirl. And if they can't accept that? The question hung between them, heavier than expected, wringing a sigh from Megan. Then maybe they aren't the friends you thought they were. Real friends lift you up, Lucas. They don't tear you down. Lucas considered this, a flash of determination igniting within him. He knew he had to return to his roots, to express the love and vulnerability that were integral to him. Standing there amidst the golden leaves, he decided he would reach out. Perhaps one conversation, one heartfelt truth shared could begin to mend the rift. "Can we go back?" he asked suddenly, his resolve strengthening. "I want to talk to them. Explain what I'm feeling, the reasons behind my choices." Megan nodded, a smile creeping across her face. "Sounds like a plan. But let us take our time, okay? You don't have to rush. Take the time you need to gather your thoughts first." Emboldened by her support, Lucas felt a strange mix of hope and trepidation. He could picture their faces, the way doubt had filled their eyes, the hurt wrapped tightly around their words. Could he really navigate the path ahead and bring them back together? As they began to walk back toward the area where the earlier confrontation occurred, panic bubbled in his chest. What if it doesn't go as I hope? What if they don't understand? "Then we face it together," Megan reassured him. "You're not alone in this." The shadows of doubt as they approached the crowd felt ominous, but within him, a resilience was brewing, ready to burst forth. Just as they reached the edge of the clearing, Lucas caught sight of a few familiar faces standing alone, their expressions a mix of anger and sadness. For a moment all he could feel was the weight of every word unsaid and every connection strained. With Megan's hand still in his, he gathered himself. "Here goes nothing," but just as he was about to step forward, a voice rang clear from the crowd, trembling with emotion. "Lucas, we need to talk." He paused, heart pounding. Was this the moment he had been waiting for? Or the beginning of something much more painful? Lucas turned to meet the voice, a wave of anxiety crashing over him. It was Dave, his childhood friend and teammate, someone he thought he knew well. The urgency in Dave's tone quickened his heartbeat. Lucas felt as if he was standing at the edge of a cliff, desperately trying to maintain his balance. "I know you're upset, and I get that, but we need to talk," Dave said, stepping forward. The tension surrounding them felt like an electric current, every pair of eyes in the crowd zeroing in on Lucas, making him feel exposed. Megan squeezed Lucas's hand tighter. She was right beside him, offering strength even as she kept quiet. "Just breathe," she whispered, her voice a calm anchor amid the storm. "Talk?" Lucas echoed, his throat dry. "About what?" "About the choices you made. About who you've become." Dave's eyes flashed with a mix of pain and frustration. "I thought we had each other's backs. What happened to that?" The words stung. Lucas's mind raced. The friends he had grown up with, laughter shared over snacks, late-night talks under the stars, now felt like shadows, distorted, unfamiliar. "Things have changed, Dave." "I've changed." Lucas struggled to sound firm, but the fear prickled at the edges of his resolve. "Changed?" Dave scoffed, anger bubbling to the surface. "You mean you chose to run away from us? From everything we've built together? This isn't just about you. It affects all of us." "It's not running away," Lucas pressed. "It's trying to find out who I really am. I can't keep pretending that I'm someone I'm not. And you of all people should understand that." Dave's face cooled momentarily, and for a fleeting second, Lucas could see the boy he grew up with peeking through the edges of the grown man he had become. "I don't want to understand this," he replied, his voice softer but still filled with hurt. "What you're doing feels reckless. You're throwing everything away." Behind Dave, the crowd murmured, uncertainty swelling among the onlookers. Their gazes flicked between Lucas and Dave, reflecting the tension in the air. There was no denying that every word felt weighed down by expectations and history. "You're angry because you feel betrayed," Lucas said, his own voice stronger now, feeding off the edge of the confrontation. "But that's not how this is. I'm not trying to hurt you, I'm trying to be real. If I can't be myself, what do I have left?" Megan stood resolute by his side, her presence radiating support as she took a small step forward. "This isn't just about Lucas. It's about everyone in this group. You all need to realize that holding on to old versions of each other just leads to more pain. Pain or not, we're friends." Dave shot back, his voice cracking with raw emotion. "Friends don't abandon each other without at least trying to understand." Lucas could feel the emergence of frustration bubbling in his own chest. This was the confrontation he had feared but knew he needed. Some part of him longed for acknowledgement, for acceptance, no matter how hard that truth was to swallow. "Can we talk?" Lucas asked, his heart racing. "This isn't just a choice. It's part of my life now." If we can't have this talk, then sure maybe I did abandon you all. But I'm here ready to open this up. For a moment silence filled the clearing, the world holding its breath. Lucas could see Dave's jaw tightening, wrestling with a whirlwind of emotions. The uncertainty threatened to engulf him. Dave finally sighed, his shoulders slumping slightly. Fine, he breathed. Let us talk. But it better be worth it. Each step they took felt monumental as Lucas moved to the front, facing his friends. He could feel the weight of their shared history weighing heavily on him, yet beneath that weight, a flicker of hope ignited as they began to gather in a circle, sharing uncertain glances. Lucas couldn't help but wonder if this was the moment they could begin to heal or if it was merely the prelude to deeper fractures. Would they be able to understand one another, or was this the beginning of their unraveling? And just then, from the back of the crowd, another voice piped up. Wait, before we start, there is something else you all need to know. The roaring laughter and lively chatter from the block party faded into a hum as Lucas prepared to face his childhood friends, the ones he once believed would always stand beside him. The anxiety drummed in his chest like a relentless heartbeat, but there was also a newfound determination, a sense that he was ready to bridge the gap that had widened between past and present. Listen, he began, his voice steady yet soft. I know that my choices have hurt you, and I'm really sorry for that. But I have to be honest. I've been running from who I am, trying to fit into a mold made by everyone else. He searched the faces gathered around, noting the varying expressions of confusion, anger, and concern. This was his chance to share the truth. I realized I can't keep pretending. These past few years have been tough for my family, and for me. We lost sight of what truly matters, and I'm just trying to reclaim that. The words flowed from him, each one feeling lighter than the last. I need to reconnect with my family. I need them to know who I am, and I want you guys to understand why this is so important. Silence blanketed the crowd. Even Dave's gaze softened slightly, as if the defensive walls he had built were beginning to crumble. Lucas continued, urging himself to be brave. We've been through so much together. And it breaks my heart to think that I may have lost you all forever. But I can't let fear dictate my choices. You've always been my friends, but I also have to honor my family. Rick, one of Lucas's oldest friends in the back, stepped forward, arms crossed, but more relaxed than before. So what now? He asked, his tone a mixture of uncertainty and curiosity. You really think you can just fix everything? You left us. No, Lucas shook his head emphatically. That's not it. I didn't leave you because I stopped caring. I lost my way. And honestly, some part of me thought stepping away would make things easier for everyone. I see now how wrong that was. There was a collective inhale, a moment of processing. You think this is just gonna blow over? Johnny, another friend, piped up, skepticism dripping from his voice. You think they'll change? Your family. If you let me, Lucas replied, his voice growing stronger. I want to show you that we can be more than the circumstances that hurt us. I want to create a world where we can all be ourselves. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, some exchanging glances, while others seemed to wrestle with the complexity of what was happening. But the air crackled with something new. A shared longing, a softening. I didn't abandon you, Lucas insisted, his voice firm yet vulnerable. I was just trying to find out how to be complete, how to be whole with all of you, with my family. I can't run from one to the other. It's time I try to find the balance. The tension broke softly, replaced by murmurs. Megan squeezed his hand tighter, her smile beaming like a beacon guiding him through the tempest. As Lucas met the eyes of his friends, he saw flickers of understanding and the faint beginnings of acceptance. Okay, Dave sighed, a weary smile creeping onto his face. Maybe we could figure this out together. But it has to work both ways. The nods around him felt promising. Lucas stepped back, heart swelling with hope. This was not the end, but rather a beginning. He would tread this journey, not just with his family, but bringing his friends along too. As the sunlight slipped lower, casting long shadows across the park, laughter softly grew again as they began to talk, no longer in opposition, but with shared history intertwined in their words. They laughed at old memories, and tears of joy began to mingle with laughter. Mom, Dad, Lucas turned back to his parents, who stood slightly back, their expressions filled with relief and disbelief. You're part of this too. Can we show them who we are together? Their gazes met, brimming with countless emotions. Always, sweetheart, Megan said, stepping closer, her heart swelling with pride over her son's strength. With the community watching, hanging on their every word, the Johnson family came together in this newfound circle, each laughter, each story tearing down walls built from pain and misunderstanding. This summer evening marked a transformation, a true reunion, not just as parents and son, but as a family once again bound by love and resilience. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm golden hues, Lucas saw something he hadn't expected. Healing. They were not just reclaiming their lives. They were inviting the people they loved back in, friends, family, all extended. It was a moment that would echo through their lives, a lasting memory of connection, understanding, and love. Lucas looked at each of his friends, each of his family, and he knew whatever lay ahead, they would navigate together, lifting each other up. And as the evening closed in, Lucas took a deep breath, ready to embrace the future. Now more than ever, the connections mattered most. With warmth in his heart and hope lighting his way, Lucas smiled at Megan, then at the gathering of his friends. "Let us start again," he said, invigorated by the possibility of transformation. The whole world seemed to shift towards the light. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss the next exclusive stories. Hit that bell and leave a like now to fuel the algorithm. Your reactions matter. Comment below with your feelings about this ending, and share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second.